it's Sunny and welcome to the Well-Read Society. So a few months ago, I posted a video in which I declared my books, which you can go check out if you haven't seen it already. And at the end of this video, I asked you guys if you wanted to see a bookshelf tour, to which many of you said yes. So I am here to deliver y'all with a bookshelf tour today. And I don't want to bore you with a super long intro. I'll just walk you through shelf by shelf. But just in general, for the way I organize my books, I organize them by genre and subgenre and then collection and author. There's a certain logic to it, but it's also kind of messy. And because I am a hoe for aesthetics, I turn around some of the spines where they didn't really match my bedroom color scheme. So I know some people don't really like that and they're like, how do you find your books? But because I organize them in a logical way, it's really easy for me to find my books and I know exactly which book is where, even when I cannot see the spine. So that's kind of how it goes. And now let me walk you through shelf by shelf and show you literally every single book that I own. So first on my classic shelf, we have my collection of Penguin classics. I love these. They are the ones with the black spine and the orange author name. I just made a mistake with this one and picked the wrong edition. So first of all, we have my Jane Austen collection. I don't own all of her books yet, but let's go. So we have Emma by Jane Austen, Sense and Sensibility, Persuasion, Pride and Prejudice. Then we have my Bronte sisters book. There's only The Tenant of Whitefell Hall missing because I couldn't find it in this edition, so I'm waiting a little bit. But we have Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte and Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Then there is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, which has a bookmark in it because I am currently reading it. Then we have Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, Dracula by Bram Stoker, and Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. So that is it for my Penguin classics. Now let's move on to this. We have my modern classics by Penguin, the ones with the blue spines. They're probably some of my favorite editions. We'll talk about that right after. I want to show you those first. So here we have all of my James Baldwin books. So there is If Beale Street Could Talk, Giovanni's Room, which I am also reading at the moment, Notes of a Native Son, The Fire Next Time. Then there is Sister Outsider by Audre Lorde, the autobiography of Malcolm X, Women, Race and Class by Angela Davis, The Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedan, A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf, and 1984 by George Orwell. And here we have some other books. Some are from the same collection. So all of these are also classics and modern classics, except they're like mini books. So we have some essays and short stories. And below it, we just have 3 books that are also classics, and I didn't really know where to fit them, so I just put them here in the middle as a divider. So in this collection, we have Dark Days by James Baldwin, The Veiled Woman by Anna Isnin, The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle the Master's House by Audre Lorde, Notes on Camp by Susan Sontag, Letter from Birmingham Jail by Martin Luther King Jr., Africa's Tarnished Name by Chinua Achebe, On the Beach at Night Alone by Walt Whitman, Lord Arthur Savilla's Crime by Oscar Wilde, A Study in Scarlet by Arthur Conan Doyle, Your Silence Will Not Protect You by Audre Lorde, and The Color Purple by Alice Walker. Then here we have some art classics and modern classics, but these are not classics. I just happened to put them here because I wanted to keep all of my Penguin collections together, but these are actually non-fiction. And so we have They Can't Kill Us All, the story of Black Lives Matter by Wesley Lowery, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, The Uninhabitable Earth, A Story of the Future by David Wallace Wells, and Good Reasons for Bad Feelings by Randolph M. Nessie. Now that we've gone through this, back to my classics and modern classics. So, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou, and Still I Rise by Maya Angelou, which is poetry, so technically it should be on my other shelf with the rest of my poetry books, but I wanted to keep my two Maya Angelou books together, especially because they're in the same edition. Then we have The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, Home by Toni Morrison, and All About Love, New Visions by Bell Hooks. So this book, I wasn't too sure whether or not I should put it on this shelf because it is not really a classic. However, Bell Hooks is a black feminist author with very progressive ideas, just like Maya Angelou and Toni Morrison and Angela Davis and all of the authors on this shelf. So it only made sense for me to keep her with her siblings. Finally, we have some more classics and modern classics. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, 12 Years a Slave by Solomon Northup, Alias Grace by Margaret Atwood, The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, and finally the follow-up book to The Handmaid's Tale, which is The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. So this section of my second shelf are all my books in French. So some were literally written in French by French authors, and some are just French translation of foreign books. I'll say the titles and authors in French. However, if a translation in English exists, I will write the name somewhere on the screen so that you can look it up if you're interested. There is La Chartreuse de Parme by Stendhal, La Comédie Humaine by Honoré de Balzac, Notre-Dame de Paris by Victor Hugo, Belle Amie by Maupassant. And this one is obviously not a French book, it is a French edition of an English language book, but it is Et nous nous reverrons by Mary Higgins Clark. And here we have some more French language books. They're not organized in any way, I just kind of put them randomly, but we have Carmen and Les Âmes du Purgatoire by Prosper Mérimée, Je ne vis que pour toi by Emmanuel de Boisson, Le Petit Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, Arrête avec tes mensonges de Philippe Besson, L'homme qui voulait être heureux by Laurent Gounel, La vie est facile, ne t'inquiète pas by Agnès Martin-Lugan, Le journal d'Anne Frank, which is obviously Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. I just read it in French. Elle s'appelait Sarah by Tatiana de Rosnay. Le ventre de l'Atlantique by Fatou Diome. Viens on s'aime by Morgane Moncon, who is my friend, so you should go check out her books. And Les Fleurs du Mal by Charles Baudelaire. So now that we've done the French editions and French language books, let's move on to my non-fiction section of this shelf. Hi everyone, it's Editing Sunny. So at this point, when I show you my poetry collection, you may notice that a lot of these books, not all of them, but a lot of them are kind of like Tumblr poetry. I don't love that term because it's a little bit condescending, but it's basically this kind of poetry like milk and honey. They kind of sound like Tumblr quotes and they're very, very accessible. And I'm very grateful for them because as a non-native English speaker, they were a really nice way for me to introduce myself to prose and poetry. However, now that my level in English is better and that I'm near fluent and that I can read things that are a bit more complex, I would love some recommendations of poetry that is still accessible, like still very accessible, especially for a non-native speaker, but more complex. I would love that. So these are my poetry and prose. Leaves of Grass by Walt Whitman, Flux by Orion Carlotto, also by the same author, but I don't keep it on my bookshelf. I keep it kind of as decoration in my bedroom. But we have Femme Folher Decor by Orion Carlotto, then Night Sky with Exit Wounds by Ocean Vuong, Sea of Strangers by Langleaf, Bright Minds, Empty Souls by Janae Cecilia, Your Soul is a River by Nikita Gill, and Bloodline by Ari Eastman. So after poetry, here we have all of my non-fiction that is not poetry. So here in the self-help section, we have The Last Lecture by Randy Posh, How to Break Up with Your Phone by Catherine Price, Indistractable by Nir Eyal, Atomic Habits by James Clear, and Just Eat It by Laura Thomas. So this one is a memoir, but I put it in the self-help pile because it gives so many valuable advice that it only made sense for me to put it in the self-help pile, but it is more than enough claiming space for who you are, no matter what they say by Elaine Welteroth. And we have Becoming by Michelle Obama, which is definitely not a self-help book. It is a memoir, so technically I should have put it there with the other memoirs, but it looked a whole lot better here, so I only put it there for aesthetic purposes. These are non-fiction books that are essays or research about social matters such as race, gender, sexuality, religion, all that jazz. So we have Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari, Natives, Race and Class in the Ruins of Empire by Akala, Food Feminism by Mickey Kendall, Eloquent Rage by Brittany Cooper, She Called Me Woman, Nigeria's Queer Women Speak, and it is by multiple authors. It's Not About the Burqa by multiple authors and edited by Mariam Khan, Three Women by Lisa Tadeo, and Rage Becomes Her, The Power of Women's Anger by Soraya Shimali. Then here we have some last few non-fiction books, and then it transitions into general fiction. For the non-fiction, we have some memoirs, except for this one, the first one. So we have No One Is Too Small to Make a Difference by Greta Thunberg, Just Kids by Patti Smith, M Train, also by Patti Smith, and A Work in Progress by Connor Frenta. So that's pretty much it for my non-fiction. Then we transition into fiction with this book, which is somewhere between fiction and non-fiction because it is fiction inspired by the author's actual life, but it is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. Nope, not gonna happen. The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, Atonement by Ian McEwan, The Paris Wife by Paula McLean, We'll Always Have Paris by Emma Beddington, Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami, Kim Ji-young, born 1982 by Jo Namju. So for this one, I have the French edition for some reason. Room by Emma Donoghue, Desert Dawn by Waris Deary, Heads of the Colored People by Nafisa Thompson Spires, The Help by Catherine Stockett, and Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert, which I just realized I misplaced. It's actually supposed to be here with the other memoir, so let me fix that. So now everything is in its place and we are done with that shelf. So for my last shelf, it's mostly young adult, and it is the shelf with the most spines that are inside out because young adult spines tend to be more colorful and my bedroom is in more neutral tones, so that is why this is the shelf with the most books that are turned around. But yeah, this is mostly young adult. There's no specific organization. However, I did put fantasy and dystopia and sci-fi kind of all together, and then contemporary romance all together, but it's generally just a mix and match of all my young adults. So there is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, Empress of a Thousand Skies by Rhoda Belleza, Three Dark Crowns by Kendare Blake, A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir, which is the second book in the Ember in the Ashes series. Only reason I didn't put them together is because this is a hardback, so I put them with the rest of my hardbacks, and this is a paperback, so I decided to separate my series. I know this is blasphemous in the book community, but it makes sense to me. And then we have The Rose and the Dagger by Renée Ahdieh. Then here we have the one pile that kind of doesn't make any sense at all. We have some new adult sort of erotica sort of stuff, then a manga, then some young adult fantasy. But anyways, this is my big mess pile, and it has Thoughtless by S.C. Stephens, The Air He Breathes by Brittany C. Cherry, Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. It should be called Ugly Cover, because what is this cover? This I don't like that at all. This is signed though, so I'm gonna keep it. Then I really don't know what this is doing on this specific shelf because it doesn't match anything else, but it is a manga version of a Sherlock Holmes novel. It is A Study in Pink. So if you didn't know, yeah, there's a manga version of Sherlock Holmes. The last book on this mix and matched pile is King's Cage by Victoria Aveyard, and that's when it kind of starts making sense again because it goes back to young adult, sci-fi and dystopia and fantasy. Then we have Shatter Me by Tahereh Mafi, City of Glass by Cassandra Clare. Then we have An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. If you're into young adult fantasy dystopias, please get this, you will love it, it's amazing. Then we have Flame in the Mist by Renée Ahdieh, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan, The Hunger Games by Susan Collin, the second book in the series, which is Catching Fire, and the third and last book in the series, which is Mockingjay. Alright, so the Hunger Games series marks the end of my fantasy, sci-fi, dystopia section of my young adult shelf, and here we have just a few contemporary and romance young adults. So there is I'll Give You the Sun by Jandy Nelson, Meet Cute, Some People Are Destined to Meet by multiple authors, The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky, Always and Forever Lara Jean, which is the last book in the To All the Boys That Float Before series, and I still haven't read it even though I've seen the movie, The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan, and my French edition of The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, which is, I will admit, not the best book in the world. However, it is the book that sparked my love for reading back after years and years spent without reading, so it holds a place dear to my heart. And this is how I started Bookstagram with this book, and this is how basically I wouldn't be here making those booktube videos and having a book club with Sumaya if it weren't for this book. So I owe a lot to it. It has a lot of emotional value. So this marks the end of my young adult section, and finally the very last few books on my shelves. This is more of a dark academia. Sunny from the future currently editing. At this point I was struggling so much to explain what this corner of my bookshelf was. So basically it's dark academia books, as I said, but also books about mythology or historical fiction and things revolving around books, history, museums, basically not necessarily dark academia, but subjects and themes that kind of revolve around the realm of dark academia. So yeah, I hope that makes more sense now. Back to regular broadcast. The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt, The Secret History, also by Donna Tartt. It is very beat up. I think I might need to get a new edition because I guess you can tell this is one of my favorite books just by looking at the state of it. It traveled with me absolutely everywhere, and yeah, I need a new edition. Oh my god, this is shred to pieces. Then there is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio, Circe by Madeline Miller, The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, and finally The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak, which is the last book on my bookshelf. So that is the end of my bookshelf tour. That's literally every physical copy of a book that I own at the moment. And I also ordered 5 more books earlier this week that I haven't received yet, so I am going to put a picture somewhere on the screen so that you can see which books will be new additions to this bookshelf very soon. And yeah, if you've liked this video, please do give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already, and let's discuss books in the comments. Tell me how you organize your shelf. Let me know, because I am curious and maybe I could draw some inspo for the next time I impulsively decide to change everything on my bookshelves. You can go check out the rest of our videos, and if you're new here, I am saying our because there are two of us on this channel. So I am Sunny, and you can go check out my other videos, and you can also go check out Sumaya's videos on this channel, and you can follow our Instagram at Twilight Society and my Instagram at Sunnynacia. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for sticking to the end, and I'll see you soon. Bye!